Everybody, it's nice to see you all again. I'm always up early and queer hours, but what I'm doing now is thought for tomorrow, Saturday. Well, I'm going to speak today, random themes I'm picking. It's fellowship, working together. In today's world we hear an awful lot of people saying, oh, what the hell do you need churches and all this cracking walls and everything like this type of thing. But it's for fellowship. If you are to love God with all your heart and all your mind, love yourself too, and love your neighbour as yourself, how can you do it without working together with people? So you can have an assembly hall, you can have what you like. You need to have some rules when you have people together. You just can't go in and to a room and put your feet up on a chair and nobody has something to follow. You need to have some type of an agenda, even at a committee meeting or a committee, as they say in the west of Ireland. You need to have an agenda, and that's what a church is very good for. Now, there's more than just going to a church on a Sunday, sticking your head in the door, and in some cases you might be like the Pharisees, playing cards and smoking. Some people used to be, when I was a young lad, you'd see them outside churches. We just walk in the porch. Only that is not fellowship. Just you don't really get to know people, help people, share the love with them. If you're a fisherman or a small farmer years ago, there was a fellowship when one had helped the other in the bartering system way before money was invented and before we got in the system of democracy based on the greatest happiness principle. That's another story. We'll deal with that again. So we'll stick to fellowship, working together, partnership. So James and John, and their daddy was called Zebedee, their biological father, and they were partners with Simon Peter, and they were fishing nets. Now I fished nets in my time and I know the crack. You work together, you help each other. There's maybe share fishing, and every day you're together. It's bad weather, you're watching boats, you're working together. You wouldn't in those days like be travelling, say, 60 miles in the one day or something to see somebody, because transport was rather limited and you wouldn't get many fish. It was subsistence level more or less. So fellowship, I'll just read something here for you now. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, which were partners with Simon. That's Luke in 5:10 if you want to read more of it. And it's just more than sitting at a meeting together, as I say, or sitting in a church together. When we speak about partners, you can use the word fellowship. You know, you have to have some word to think of what we're talking about. But this can apply to various religions, what I'm speaking about. This would do for an RE class. In most societies, we had a community. The way the system was designed years ago, capitalism, you had the working wife. And I don't insult anyone by what I say, but I speak very ordinary and maybe sometimes crude. You know, the wife scrubbing the dishes and doing all this thing, she was cheap labour for capitalism in the sense if you had to pay a woman wages, it'd mean the man would have to get a lot of money. So there was a woman and a man together, and that was the family unit. And there was a lot of laws with the churches in those days, wherever you lived. In some parts of the world there's similar, where you have to go. Well, church and state law used to be once at one time here in British law, many years ago, of course, before the Reformation. So what I'm saying is fellowship. It was something that we have to develop. Now, just to steer you back on the ship a second, fishermen work together, and years ago, like you'd be helping each other, someone in trouble with nets, pots, or work together. You can work together even in cooperative societies. That's a form of fellowship. But it's not necessarily helping everybody outside the limit of, maybe say you're in the oyster co-op, or whatever type of co-op you want to be. It could be mussel co-op, or it could be play co-op. So the point I'm making is why we need fellowship, or we need working together. It takes all different talents to make a world, you know. And everybody has some talent or other. You mightn't value it or you mightn't think about it, but There's the baker, the candlestick maker, and as the fellow says, you've the plumber, you've all these people, and they're all very important people when you need a job done in a hurry. If you've broken the side of the road. So we need a fellowship in society. Now, how do we develop this fellowship? You see, with the change in role of the family, we've gone from Jameen Shaft to what they call a Jessel Shaft society. Now, I don't want to complicate it. That's just it's actually moving on from that. The extended family was the old system in the Jameen society. When there was no social services, you had a farmhouse. I'm giving this now very, very simplistic. And that the old man would be maybe 75 or whatever he was when he died, and the son would be maybe in his 50s when he got the farm. He might be too old to marry. But it was a different system. The family looked after the people. And this was common enough here till probably the 60s. But you see, there's no old age pensions until the early 20th century. Somewhere around 1916 or 18, Britain, I think, started them after somewhere like New Zealand. Just, I'm not going to say I'm giving you a very exact thing, but it's giving you an idea of what we're talking about fellowship. There was a type of fellowship in society. Like villages were very knit, closely knit. You'd know where one was going to the toilet near or what they were doing if they went out the door. Even in the 60s, that was very common where I lived, and maybe in the 70s. Well, I nearly know where everybody was going if he went up the road. Where's he going? You know. But now, you wouldn't know what you'd see in a house. That there is possibly lacking in fellowship, and the church is trying to revive fellowship. Well, now there's a more social fellowship where the church steers various churches. The Roman Catholic Church here steer a lot of fellowship policies, services, not them all, but they do facilitate them. You have parochial halls in most areas. There's different things can be going on, like badminton, etc. And there's a fellowship here, I suppose, Cooley Kickens. It works well in the parish. Because football is a very good unifying force in a lot of areas. In Gaelic football, a lot of people get a fellowship that way, and they get to know people, and you used to get a job if you knew somebody. But the point of it, it's more than doing a job. You have to remember, it's Christ. You have to share this love of Christ. And Christ loves you all. He loves those that are sinners. And he worked among sinners. He didn't pick the real holy out from his mother. Now, so this fellowship we have to try now and develop what I'm talking about, a partnership. So don't get it into your head. You might have a thick head or a thin head, or head like mine is, maybe. I don't know what it is. So if we want to have a fellowship, we need everybody. We need people to care for each other. And if we didn't do that, we'd finish up like, I'm always accusing the government. I was up in the Dáil the other day, actually, and having a word about a few things. Very nice. Some of them are nice up there, but you can't move mountains. When you have a team, you suggest something, you're shot down. But that's another story. But a fellowship, there is certain politicians who'd be trying to, I don't know whether they're genuine, to try to get fellowship for people, helping people in need, all this type of thing. And then there's a problem with costs. So you have to balance out a fellowship. In Cooley Parish, for example, I must stay here beside me, to have on a Thursday dinners, and it's second to none. €5. That's fellowship for older people to come and have a chat. I'll go down to it myself, and I must say they're first class for the food. And very, very good people that do that type of work. There's one thing we all know, if we are all getting older, and you might be steering the ship well till you go to 80 or 85, or I have a brother 86, but then you might start getting slowed down, because in this world, we don't live in it forever. In one sense, your body's rented. You haven't control of it because you're going to die. It's going to go into the grave, and your soul hopefully will go to heaven. And if you're saved, like you should be saved, because if you follow put your faith and trust in Christ, you're baptized, and admit you're a sinner, and attend the Eucharist. And in various religions they can do something similar. But the Catholic religion was always a great religion for the faith. It comes with apostolic succession, which I have apostolic succession. That's the most important thing to me, rather than membership of my order or what order I'm in. We are the Irish Orthodox Catholic and Apostolic Church, and we come from Catholic lineage. And then we've an order Mater Dei, which was formed in 1978 in Switzerland, and Michael Cox was in it. He was ordained in Switzerland by some. There were five former canon lawyers and theologians and of the Catholic Church. So the point about it is, this was of course Vatican II Church. He was ordained in the 70s, so it was Vatican II come. There was a lot of resistance, you see, with Archbishop Lever, and a lot of resistance came, and people will argue that the changes in the church, people have drifted. Well, I don't think so. Now, I want to get careful now. I'm going to go out of this argument. Another argument will be here for 2 days. We're sticking to fellowship. So we'll deal with that one another night. So we're going to deal with fellowship now. And fellowship is a matter of keeping people together. So churches are trying to keep people together. There's a very good priest trying to keep people together. I see Kieran Gallat in Belfast, a nice man and a good hard worker for the job in the cathedral, trying to keep his parish, get young people interested in it. Because if we don't get young people interested in, it's going to be a queer society. Like, there'll be no mercy in people. It's going away from a need and a caring society, in a sense, to a greed society in the interest of profits. Now this is slowly changing, and you notice that by cuts in the government, and our government now is right of centre, if you understand that. It's not a political lesson we're talking about. We're just telling them about fellowship, how to develop it, and how to deal with it and what it's about. So it's a fellowship of partnership, and we must all remember we need everybody in this society. We think we don't, but you do. We have to try and survive and pay bills, and in a real world it's tough. You've always a bill coming here and there, no matter who I speak to. Because I don't class myself as, I was at college a long time, but that doesn't mean I'll go down the hole. I just call myself probably working class, an ordinary person. I just like to feel I'm an ordinary person. Like the Papa will say, Francesco George Mario Bergoglio, he says he's an ordinary person, and that's the way to live. Because when you go down the hole, Paddy Joe can be there and Paddy Jack can be here. Paddy Joe's a millionaire, he can't take it with him. But you need to have partnership and get that love of Christ in you. And it's a great feeling if you get a kick of helping other people, and that's what it's about, serving, not grabbing. And if you get caught in the grabbing thing, a lot of people when they're young may be caught in it, with the system, buying a house, and it probably has an effect on fellowship, people together, to become me painters. At maybe 45, 50, things have settled down and they start enjoying a life. If they don't,